Smithereens is Joji's latest release after the release of Nectar and Ballads. And I think this one is probably a more interesting effort from Joji. I mean, I thought Nectar was a really solid album, but it kind of just wasn't really cohesive as a whole thing. And this one does seem a lot more cohesive. There's only 9 songs. It's a lot more stripped down than some of his other albums. But I will say it is just a really short album. There's 9 songs. It's like 24 minutes long. It seems a lot more like an EP than an actual album. But I think this is, it does show a lot of promise from Joji. And it was followed by Glimpse of Us, which is definitely Joji's biggest hit. It has like 500 million streams on Spotify. And it was, I think, number 2 on the Billboard charts. It was really high on the Billboard charts. And I think it is one of Joji's better songs and really shows his songwriting and how powerful his vocals and lyrics can be. And let's just go by a track interview, starting off with Glimpse of Us. Glimpse of Us is a beautiful track with a nice piano instrumental complementing Joji's airy vocals and lyrics that show Joji's vulnerability with his new lover. I feel like this is a common theme on the entire album. It's all about vulnerability with, other people and just longing for a lost lover. The lyrics perfectly work for the piano ballad for his past lover, and Joji's delivery and vocal inflections show his disappointment for his actual feelings. He doesn't really like the position he's in, at the point of the song. The song really works well for an intro to an album, setting a mood of longing for a past lover and never really finding someone to take their place. Then we go to Feeling Like the End. The beat in Joji's vocals remind me of a more Nectar track because it's a really kind of a rap pop sounding beat with the super high pitched vocals, which I think was a pretty common thing on Nectar. I do like the continued themes from Glimpse of Us to this one, but I feel like the format of this song with 2 choruses and a short verse just make it a little bit too quick and forgettable, which I feel like is a common theme with this album. Just a little bit too short, and I feel like some of these songs aren't fully fleshed out like they could be. Then we got Die For You. I really think this is a pretty solid song. There's themes of the past lover, and then there's the instrumental's a lot slower compared to the last track and really creates an ambient environment, which I really like on this one. I really like the ambientness of the song. I really like the production on this one because it works so well with everything like happening around your head when you're listening on headphones. And then Joji's vocals also sound good and keep the ambient sound with the mixing of his vocals perfectly working with the production. I feel like it keeps it all ambient sounding, but at the same time you can really hear Joji's vocals and you can sound good. And I feel like the vocals really work well with the bass and the outro of the song just sounding really good. Then we go to Before the Day Is Over. This is another piano instrumental which begins to build up as the first verse goes on. There's more and more instruments introduced, and Joji's vocals kind of work the beat as they kind of build around him. And then I don't really like and know why they sound so weird, but it does on the chorus. Like Joji's vocals just don't sound that great in my opinion, and even with the layering of the vocals it just doesn't really fit with the production in my opinion. And then the themes of losing the lover are also continued on this one, and the bridge has a little bit more of an ambient feel, which I feel like sounds a little bit better. Then we go to Dissolve. The song starts with an acoustic guitar and Joji's clearly auto-tuned vocals. The themes of the album continue on this one, showing that Joji's lover has kind of left him for good, and he doesn't realize much of her flaws. Like it was kind of like a looking back on the relationship, like he saw her as this angel and then now she maybe isn't, but he still wants her back, really. And then the vocals kind of they sound a lot better without the auto-tune, and then the guitar comes out in some lines and then it comes back in at the end of the lines, which I think sounds really good. And then his delivery really works on this track, and the second chorus sounds just amazing on this one with the ambient sound in the background and everything kind of melting together to create a cohesive like substance kind of from all these things. Like you hear his voice and the production, all that, and they all kind of work together to create kind of this cohesive little, I don't know what you want to call it, but it was really cohesive. Then we got Night Rider. This is disc 2 on the album, and he starts like this disc 2 with a more dark approach. It's kind of a really dark sounding vibe on the second track, and then vocals that are more monotone and robotic sounding. I'm pretty sure there's also like a robotic little sound effect in the background, which is pretty interesting. The vibe changes during the refrain, which is kind of a little bit more upbeat, Nectar-ish type of vibe. And then the sound works, but I feel like this one is again just a little bit too short and not fully realized. Then we go to Blah 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 Demo. This song has an acoustic guitar instrumental, and Joji's vocals, work really well on this one. I feel like the chorus and Joji's softer voice and vibe really work on this song. The song then switches into a more dark sounding second part with Joji's voice going much deeper, and then I think it sounds really good over a hard hitting bass beat. I feel like the lyrics on this track really fit the theme of losing the lover and seeing both of you guys move on and not really seeming any more happy than before, but you want to see both of you guys be more happy, but it doesn't really seem like you guys are. Then we go to Yukon Interlude. I really like this one. I mean, it has a pretty cool piano instrumental, but it does sound a lot darker than some of the early tracks of the piano instrumentals. I feel like this song is a good metaphor for kind of going nowhere in a relationship and picturing the ways you could have made it better. Like you're in a shower and you're like rethinking the relationship and you're like, what are ways that it could have gone a lot better? And it's kind of the same thing here where he's talking about going down, like he's in a car and he's just driving down, whatever highway. And it's just like you're going for a ride and you're thinking about your thoughts and your feelings and everything. And I feel like it just really works, and his vocals sound great. I feel like the production really complements his voice. The song is super replayable, and it has like kind of a deeper meaning than on its surface. Like you can just listen to it and you're like, there's not that much meaning to it, but once you really kind of look a little bit deeper, there is a solid amount of meaning, and it really fits the album. Then the last song in this album is 1am Freestyle. The song has another piano instrumental, but I feel like the piano is a lot more ambient on this one. It keeps the same feeling of longing for a lost lover, and the beat gets a lot more complex during the verses with hi-hats. And then I feel like the lyrics really encapsulate the whole album together, where Joji doesn't want to be away from his former lover and feels empty without her, and he thinks that she feels the same way. I don't know if that's true, but he sees the value in having another lover to like not make himself feel empty, but he just kind of wants to be with his ex, and he wants to just be with her forever. And I think this album is pretty solid. I feel like Joji does a lot with not that many lyrics. Like he really puts in a lot to the vibe and the actual feelings of the song while not having that much in the lyrics. And it is kind of like there is a deeper part, but you can just kind of listen to it and also get what he's saying. While, like, if you really look into it, there is a lot more under the surface. But either way, I feel like this is a pretty solid album coming out from Joji. I think he really putting a lot of work and effort into this one. And I think this one sounds, like, pretty good in terms of the style. The style isn't perfect all the way through, but I feel like there definitely are some really good songs. Glimpse of Us, Yukon Interlude are really just good songs. And I think he's kind of taking the sound he had with Nectar and he's kind of improving it and putting it into a more succinct like sound. But I feel like this is a little bit too cut down. It's a little bit too stripped. As an album, I want probably more than 25 minutes. So it's like you could listen to this album twice in 50 minutes, but I wanted a couple more songs, or maybe I wanted some of these songs to be a little bit more fleshed out. I feel like that'd make a better album. But either way, I feel like this is a really solid effort from Joji. I just wish I could have had a little bit more coming out from him. 9 songs in 25 minutes just isn't enough for an artist that was really waiting, 2 years for this album.